I don't think much of us pay much attention to things that we come in contact with, but for the last week, I spent a few days documenting everything that I touch. And some intimate, some artifact, objects, clothing, places, architecture, urban, home, just different random things, all within my ability to grab it. So about 7 foot by whatever my proximity is to getting to that object. This is a selection of work, some photographs of things that I touch, out of like the catalog that I'm creating. The catalog is meant to document these haptic conditions or experiences, whether they're objects or experiences. And right now, what I've noticed is trying to catalog or document an experience is incredibly difficult. Not only just to photograph it, but to represent it. Because my entire argument kind of right now is that our society is focusing too much on the ocular centrism. That everything's about looks. We use temporal images. We use also, you look at the advertisement and marketing world, quick gimmicks, trends, things that come and they're gone. Clothing, even to some degree, but a lot of it's just about looks. And then basically, I have a feeling that it's leading to a cheap society. And so I'm focusing on the touch and things that the skin can actually memorize. That you have a more quality sensation that would leave you knowing maybe a better sense of place where you are. So beginning here, I've got 3 boards. These images are from just things that I touch inside of my house, different haptic experiences that I have. And this board was kind of following a trajectory downtown from my house down to school. And the farthest one down is different walls and seats and benches and sort of conditions that exist within facades. And that is actually more of kind of like a forensic approach to my investigation, to kind of documenting the haptic. So I'll start here. In my house, with the objects that I come in contact with, I sort of hone down my intimate experience with my bedding in the bathroom, and then sort of the approach to leaving my house. With the bedding, you have an intimacy level with it that is magnified almost 100 times from what you normally are used to with your clothes. You surround yourself in your covers and your blankets and your pillows. You're completely naked. You're vulnerable. Oftentimes, you'll have comfortable, hopefully to you, your touch specificity. And so all I'm doing is giving it a simple catalog basis, a taxonomy. I've broken it down to context, time, proximity, material, temperature, and resistance. For example, I gave my pillow the context of home, the bedroom. For time, it's hours. I sleep about 8 hours a night. It's intimate. The material is cotton, and it's cool. The temperature can relate to whether or not it's conductive, metal versus wood, etc. But all that has a value to it that plays into your experience with that object. And then the resistance would be smooth. So going down to the bathroom, for example, one of the items that I think we all have a very big, deep kind of connection to is showering. Again, that's an intimate setting, and you're surrounding yourself in water, which has a temperature value to it. There's it's difficult, right? I'm learning the vocabulary right now as how to describe these events, but I think we can all think back as to how a shower makes you feel. It's a wonderful feeling in the morning or at night. It cleans you. You're not necessarily looking at things. Oftentimes, me personally, I'll just sit there with my head down and not looking at it, just letting the water hit my back. So my investigation is also leading me away from just objects. It's considering elements of water, all the different elements that have a value, such as temperature. And then take for a towel, as you're drying off, they say that the first thing that you dry on your body happens to have the most value, beginning with your face. But then looking at the texture and the sensation you get from the towel. Each thing's got a different characteristic that I'm kind of slowly investigating. Stepping over to kind of this path downtown, I passed a couple different businesses, got some coffee, looking at just the quality of a coffee cup, for example. It's plastic, it's cold. This was a business card that I picked up as I was waiting for my order, and I picked it up based off of what it looked like because it had kind of some interesting graphics, but I could also sense that it had a deviation in the paper. When I grabbed it, it was a corrugated piece of paper. A very, almost like a cottony blend business card. Really interesting texture that definitely left an imprint on, I guess, the way that I felt it. And then I was able to, I took a picture of it, but I could still feel the sensation after rubbing it. So I'm kind of looking at that as it's a business technique, for one. They're surpassing just the visual, and they're stepping into the realm of haptic, which is going to hopefully keep people to remember what that person was selling based on the feeling of a card. It's an association. Food, and then iPhones, benches, the weathering, that had terrific quality of this wood bench. I sit here all the time. It's something that I just enjoy. I guess it's soft and coarse. So then the last page is this new route that I'm kind of taking, trying to investigate what is happening or what has happened, more of like a historical observation with the built environment, looking at the material.
So the first one's intimate, the second one's what?
This was more of a common ritual going from my house to downtown, and the things that I experience on a regular basis. This would be home ritual or behavior. This is in motion, I suppose, like kind of like a trajectory of experiences that I have on a regular day. And then the last was things that I was actually investigating. Like I'm trying to look at, for example, so this door right here, this was a garage door on Siegel's building up on 25th and B. And the reason why I photographed it is because as I'm walking by, the light kind of hits it, and I could see there was smudges and smears all over this large garage door. So I went up and I kept looking at it a little bit closer, and then I started realizing that it's on a trap roll system, that there is no gate, or opener. People have to do it manually. So that gave me, like a little inference that people have to do it manually, analog, move it. And so then I went up and I grabbed the door. It was dirty and greasy and grimy, made out of sheet metal and hang line. The value to it, I guess I don't know exactly what it does to you psychologically, but it was something that I recognized that I think is going to start leading away from me in terms of investigating more characteristics of how we behave in the environment when it comes to the haptic experience. Let's see. This piece right here was just a concrete wall with a small hole in it that somebody rammed a piece of bubble gum in. I guess taking little cues and stuff like that. People are doing things. We know we do it, right? Like we know we have these sort of subliminal, like maybe just unconscious, events where we do things. But I guess I just want to start kind of tracking that and see if it leads me anywhere. Down at the bottom, I took these objects down, or these photographs, these images, to kind of, I don't know, play a little bit more off of. But this was of the bathroom, and I guess the experience and the value that the bathroom has with the water and the shower. This picture is representing, or trying to represent, the effect that sunlight gives you. You might not have to look at it, for example. You can keep your eyes shut, but you can still feel it. So not everything in this haptic investigation I'm working with is of the physical. If you're sitting at a bench, the bench might be hard, it might be kind of uncomfortable, but the sunlight is hitting you in a way that's warming your body up. So it's a phenomena of maybe time and place, which is kind of something that I'm noting. And then again with the door. As for what I plan on bringing to the table next week, I want to build my argument more. I want to strengthen the argument of the oculocentrism and its effects in our current society. I need to get more examples of other designers. I'm reading 3 books right now, other designers that are working in the same area. Today I noticed a design feature just nearby that I've never really paid much attention to, other than now that I'm focusing on the idea of touch, but that's Patar's bus station, or the MTS Depot right up here with the white wobbly seats. Yeah, guitar passed away a couple years ago. But though the column is wrapped in this kind of granite concrete composite, very cold to the touch, even though it's kind of in sunlight, it doesn't seem to be absorbing much heat. But then the contours and sort of the topography of this column definitely lends itself to somebody standing waiting for a bus or the trolley. You know, if you're leaning against it, it's making more contact in terms of the proximity to your body and the way that it's rolling up your back. You could almost begin to pinpoint and direct one of those lumps kind of into your back and almost give yourself a back massage while you're waiting for the trolley. And as I was kind of doing this, looking like a weirdo in the middle of the trolley station, I'm sitting there like rubbing my back all over it and getting all intimate with this thing. But then I noticed that like people do that kind of stuff almost to relieve anxiety at times. You know, if you sit in a coffee shop or you sit in a restaurant or even the bus stop or something, you know, see people doing the shake or fiddling or something, that's a stress reliever in a way. You know, you're trying to get your body out. And a lot of times the architecture or the object scenario, I think, are lending themselves to output that energy in a way. But I guess that's kind of where I'm at, that's what I'm looking at. Guys, I'm definitely open to suggestions, routes.
I think we collected all this kind of taking away from Rhys data.
Yeah, you have this rich volume of like visual, and then the vocabulary is there with it too. But you're trying to get across the haptic touch experience.
Yeah,
like, it's hard to get that across. Yeah. So the representation of it is going to have to be spot on.
Yeah.
To get it, especially since the whole point of the thing is being haptic.
What do you think? Like, what's your like?
I don't know. Without being so literal that you have the materials there to experience, like that's kind of I don't want to say a cop out, but it's like it's
and you still can't, because when you factor in all the other senses in the moment,
yeah,
I can't take all that and put it here. Right, but I guess a diagram might be a tool to do that. Embryos, somewhat. You know, it's difficult, you know, diagramming that phenomenon.
Once I get further into
I don't think that
It's
even the way you chose to represent the presentation of what distance, it's digital. I mean, it's very pixelated, and you've got a wall of that.
That would be.
You only have 36 images.
Yeah, I have one. This is
yeah,
I selected
the project,
this.
But there's
if it continues down this road, you can just amass this ginormous.
right, but if there's well, yeah, and then what?
That's what I mean.
You have this massive haptic catalog of this whole thing.
But how do you represent it?
What this is doing, this is an exercise. This isn't a result. This is an exercise. Like by just doing this and building this sense of awareness of my surroundings, it's helping. I'm recognizing.
Okay, so now you have 36 images, right?
Yeah.
This is your exercise. Where do we go from there? What do you do with this exercise? Like we're gonna jump off from this point. Like here you go, bam. Here's your project. What do you do? Without building something. What's the next step of the exercise?
What are you trying to accomplish?
I understand the question. I understand these questions. It's difficult for me to say right now. I want to keep criticizing. I want to abstract more. I want to know more about how and what impact it has on us. Ideally, I would like to say, okay, I learned what this, and this does to somebody. How do I take that, implement it here? And will that be helpful? And will it work?
Like maybe doing research on like how do other people feel about that bench, or not that particular bench, but when they touch, like because it's about haptic, right? So maybe researching, like not just documenting what you touch and how you feel when you touch it, but maybe other things other people have done or touched. You said you're reading those books, but maybe just broadening.
Okay. Survey? Sort?
I don't know, or research. I don't know. Just.
What do you think, Doug?
Thinking you don't have enough, right? If we were to just